You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
Yeah, I had a burst of energy before we started recording. And I can't stop singing that Sam Smith song, but in an English. Mommy don't know Daddy's getting hot at the body shop. That one.
Mommy don't know Daddy's getting hot at the
body shop. Doing something unholy. Yeah, that one.
I think that should just be our opening. And welcome, everyone. You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword. I'm Grace Topinka.
I'm Chelsea Rowan. And yes, I am auditioning for Les Mis on the West End. So if you know anybody, please send them that clip. Because that's
if you have connections, let us know.
That's my audition, official audition. Yeah. I mean, I literally can't stop singing that song, but it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I gotta spice it up. I gotta change things up. And Matt's like, what are you singing? I'm like, have you been on TikTok recently? Because, yeah.
I keep saying, I'm like, I need to delete TikTok for a week because I'm so addicted to it. And then I'm like, I'm gonna miss so much if I'm gone for a week.
I know.
Then I'm not gonna get into the jokes and whatever. I mean, I guess I could jump back in, but
yeah. I feel the same way, but I also feel like I scroll past so many things now that
Same.
I feel like our likes don't go up as much as they used to in the past.
You're right. Maybe we're growing up, maturing out of TikTok. Never.
I sure hope not.
By the way, I don't think we said this was our weekly Podword Crosscast, but it is.
It is. Yeah. And if you thought it wasn't, then I don't know where you think you are, honestly. If you somehow stumbled into this podcast, God help you, especially with that opener. So
we should change it to mostly weekly Podword Crosscast because that's more accurate.
Yeah, it is more accurate because we're just two human girls with two human lives. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And not that we need to get paid for this, but we don't get paid for this. So
it's purely for love of entertaining people and hearing ourselves talk. Speaking of, should we get into our Pollapalooza?
Let's go into the Pollapalooza.
So last week, Chelsea's topic was on the Marianas Trench. And so on Twitter, we asked our Twitter followers, in honor of our Marianas Trench episode, if you had to choose, none of this I wouldn't do either, if you had to choose between being sent into deep space or to the bottom of the oceanic trench of an oceanic trench, a deep one, where would you go? Then you could either choose between space or ocean trench, and 70% of people chose space.
Ooh.
And 30 chose trench.
That is an incredibly difficult either or.
They both make my palms sweaty.
We're not going to rehash it. I have a thing with the ocean, so let's put that to the left. Mm-hmm. But on the right, I have a thing with space.
I have a thing with both, but I feel like people don't die. Well, okay. Other than, takeoff issues, I feel like astronauts aren't dying in space.
It's true, but then have you seen Gravity? Okay.
No, I haven't.
Horrifying.
But how often does that? First of all, if I'm going to space, it's like I'm staying in the ship the whole time. I'm not going out and fixing stuff or whatever they do out there.
Whatever they think that they're going to have me do, they can think again. No, there's something really horrifying about being in space and then getting untethered from your ship. And there's no air to push you around. But if you started spinning and going, you literally couldn't stop yourself unless there's something to grab onto. And there's nothing to grab onto. So you're just going to keep spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning until your oxygen depletes. Mm-hmm. And I guess the question is, would you rather, if you're in space or the deep sea, are we getting out? If you can guarantee my escape from both, I probably would pick the bottom of the ocean, and that's crazy.
Wow. If you could guarantee that I would be fine, then I would pick space, because I feel like that's a cooler view. The bottom of the ocean is probably just dark and murky down there.
Right, but I also feel like at least I'm on Earth.
Barely.
I'm in Earth at that point. Earth, I am in you.
Well, I was going to say, okay, and then if you knew you were going to die, would you rather run out of oxygen in space or in the water?
Right.
I can't think about this. This was honestly the type of stuff that makes me spiral late at night. So let's say we make it out of alive. I'm going to space. Chelsea's going to the ocean. We got both areas covered.
We'll meet back at Chicago International Airport or whatever.
Right? That's where spaceships depart out of, O'Hare.
And that's where the submersibles depart from. Especially that's actually where what's his name? Submersible left.
James Cameron.
I can't even remember. James Cameron's, yeah. He like drove it across the land until it got to the ocean, then he just drove it right into the Pacific Ocean.
It was a duck boat.
I forgot to mention that last week. Yes, it was a duck boat.
Man, those things can really do everything.
It's crazy. Actually, people do die on duck boats, so I'm never going on a duck boat again. I have been on a duck boat. I did not die on it.
Recently, people have died on one?
I think recently, as in like the last 10 years, yeah.
Well, I mean, you can die on in a car. Duck boat's just like a car.
I just feel like the car to like duck boat death to duck boat voyage ratio is rather high.
And what's the big deal about a duck boat? I mean,
just get on a regular boat. They're meant to stay up. Anyway, it's crazy.
Wild.
So wow. Okay. That was fun.
Lots of death up top.
Yeah, let's navigate away from this.
Deeply away to our heights and shites.
Heights and shites. Okay, I think first things first, the question that's on everyone's mind. Grace, are you still stressed?
Oh, less stressed.
Less
There's
stressed.
always like a linger, when you think of something and you're just like, ugh, like that. I have a lot. Yeah. I have like probably 10 things that I often revisit. And feel bad about. But this is not one of my top ones. So I am feeling much better, everyone. Thank you for your well wishes. Not that anyone said anything, but I'm sure
not a single person wrote to us.
No, but I could feel that people were worried. So yes, it's all fine.
She's great. The only reason I bring this up is because I was listening to our intro last week. Mm-hmm. I'm insane. I feel like sometimes like if we get like a new listener or like an influx of new listeners or influx of new followers, I immediately listen to the most recent intro just to be like, okay, we're good at
trying to
this.
get their POV.
Yeah, POV.
Like, POV, I'm tuning into Two Girls One Crossword for the first time. And I'm like, I hate my life. Have you ever made a mistake?
Exactly. It's like when you get like a new Instagram follower and you like immediately like go through your entire feed to be like,
I'm like 5 years deep, like in college.
I'm like, maybe I should delete this one after all. It's been long enough. Yeah. Are we the only two people in the world that do that? I hope not.
No, we can't. If there's anything I've learned from TikTok is that I literally have not had a unique thought or experience in my life. I've gone back and deleted stuff from college. Like, if I ever go all the way back, I'm like, oh, what's this? I'm like, I need to take this off. Not even college, like a year ago, I'll delete something.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Go in and clean it up every once in a while.
Grace and I talk about Instagram vibes. I mean, Grace says that she doesn't have a vibe on Instagram. She very much has a vibe on Instagram. There's some things that you would never post on Instagram, and that means you have a vibe.
True.
And because of that, because we have a vibe to uphold on Instagram, sometimes you have to go back and recurate. Something that you thought was a vibe a year ago is very much not a vibe now. It does not pass the check, so it's gotta go.
You never know.
You never know where the world is going to take you, whether it be the deep ocean or the deep space. So
nice.
Thank you. And, ladies and gentlemen, we are really good with segues. I don't know what that was segueing us for, but yeah.
Heights and shites?
Maybe. Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. I'll start with the Friday, October 7th, New Yorker by Emily Carroll. And it said, today's theme, an exercise in futility.
Okay.
So I'll talk about the theme, but before I get there were some clues that I liked. 2 down, fallen stars, ? Has-beens.
Ooh.
12 down, chain known for its bread bowls. Panera, obviously. Only the coolest place to hang out. 34.
I thought you said Red Bulls, like the energy drink. And I was like, what's the pun here? Bread bowls.
Bread bowls.
I was, and I still am a Panera girl. It's true.
Yeah, I feel like I've been to Panera with you, actually.
Well, yeah, because
we went in Evanston one time before we went to that concert.
Oh, crap. You're right.
Back when we used to be cool.
Oh, my God.
I like the idea of a bread bowl, but I've never actually finished a whole bread bowl because I feel like by the time I've drank all the soup, I'm like, I can't.
Oh, no. You
'Cause
just
I
throw
always
it away.
get-
It's so wasteful.
Bread, yeah. Anyways, I just
would
get a
rather
bowl with
just
bread
get-
on the side.
If you're desperate for a lot of bread, just get yourself a second, like, baguette. It's like $1 extra.
She knows the tricks.
I would know. I was a Panera girl in high school. That's true. Actually, my love of Panera started when I was like 7th and 8th grade because that was when the Panera opened near me.
Mhm.
Oh my God. And when you live in suburbia and like the nicest restaurant you have like at your mall, like shopping complex is a Friendly's, when a Panera opens, it's earth shattering.
It was like
okay?
sophisticated, but also not too expensive.
Yeah. You want to take a step above Friendly's. I mean, even Panera at the time was a step above Friendly's. Panera has since changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I still love it. What can I say?
She still loves it, people. Well, that clue is for you. 34 down, visibly excited. Agog.
Agog.
Just words that I'm reminding myself to use more.
Wait. Along the same lines of my West End Les Mis tryout audition. I am agog. I am aghast. Is Marius in love at last? Anyway, that's from Les Mis as well.
Oh.
So
She's got Les Mis on the mind.
I am aghast. Is Marius in love at last? It's from ABC Cafe. Not that if you're not really into Les Mis, you might not know that. But
I'm seeing Les Mis for the first time in February, so
I know. I'm so excited for you.
I have these issues with Broadway plays that I get like obsessed with them, and then it's all I listen to for like months. I'm in a Dear Evan Hansen era right now, everyone, if you're wondering, but I could get into a Les Mis era potentially. It could spark something, but I don't know though, because that's like tough to listen to regularly. But I've done it with Wicked before in high school, so
there you go.
Okay, 56 down. David and Alexis's mother on Schitt's Creek. Moira.
Just like, what's her name?
Laugh to see that. 72 across. Canadian put down. Hoser.
Poser with a P?
Hoser. I don't know. But so
if you're from Canada.
If you ever go to Canada, don't call people that.
Or do, whatever your vibe is, I guess. If it passes your vibe check.
I love this one. 6 down. School for fathers to be, ? And the answer was seminary. Right?
I love it. Very good.
And then, so the revealer was 59 across. Why even bother? Or what can be said of the answer to each starred clue? And the answer was, this is pointless. So then each of the starred clues, the answer was something that was pointless. So 21 across, club for 1, blunt instrument.
Oh,
it's pointless. Okay. 30 across, chanted taunt at a basketball game. Airball. Also, don't get a point for an airball.
Nice.
38 across, long-winded anecdote. Shaggy dog story, which is the story with no point, which I also haven't heard that phrase before, but now we'll be using it. Against my mother. Just kidding. If she's listening to this. Sometimes she does tell stories that ramble, but she's actually very entertaining. Okay. 47 across. It's a whole thing. Integer. Which also doesn't have a point because it's a whole number. So, anyways.
Wow. Okay.
Math joke.
Accountant. Got it. I didn't actually understand that one at all, but I'm going to have to believe you when you say that a whole number doesn't have a, what does it say? A point?
Like a decimal point.
Oh.
That's like an integer. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Not like 3.25 or whatever.
Got it. Technically, it's 0.0, right? Mathematicians.
Take it up with Isaac Newton.
I will. I've got him on speed dial. Let's see. Let's stick with the New Yorkers. I did the Monday, October 10th New Yorker by Elizabeth C. Gorski. 33 across. Puts on the back burner, ? And the answer was heats, like heats something up. Mm-hmm. Very nice. I also liked 40 across. Mortal being, ? Enemy. Mortal enemy. Thematic much. Anyway, also, this puzzle, I will say, the grid had two, I'm trying, what? Help me!
You got it. You got this.
Thank you. I struggle so hard. So the design of the grid, it looks like there's 2 brackets on either side of the middle of the grid, which is funny because where did it go?
Because of
the wonderful things she does. We were meant to be on Broadway. Okay, 37 across. Get off in a way. And the answer is parenthetical. Or no, sorry, set off in a way. Sorry, the crack in my phone, I can't read some of these answers. Set off in a way, and the answer was parenthetical. And I just thought this was hilarious that parenthetical was inside what looked like a pair of brackets, or was kind of like a parentheses. So
funny.
That was fun. You got to trust me on this, guys. You got to trust me on this. Thank you. What else you got?
The Sunday Washington Post by Evan Bernholz, who is confirmed our friend, people.
By the way.
IRL.
Yeah.
We almost even met IRL, except that Chelsea was out of town and I had family in town. But
oh God.
We know that it could happen, and that means everything. And I think that that's why he put this clue: 27 across, Twilight heroine with a beautiful name.
Yes.
Bella.
Bella.
Explain that, Evan.
Yeah, explain yourself. We dare you. Come on, Aaron, explain it, huh?
48 across.
Sorry, we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah. 48 across. The game star Maury Hardrick is Tia, though now she's this is very timely, because this week she just announced that her and Corey, who's Hardrick, are getting a divorce. So now she's just Tia Maury.
Welcome back to the Mauries.
So,
Wow.
92 across. Where do you get off? ? And the answer was exit.
I loved that one. That was also on my hits.
And then the theme was 117 across. Something you may read on a first word of 121 across, or have from reading a second word of 121 across, or see by reading the full answer to 121 across. So 121 across is website whose name serves as a hint to this puzzle's theme, and it's Facebook. So if we go back to 117, something you may read on a face, or have from reading a book, or see by reading Facebook. And the answer is reaction, because you can do reactions on Facebook, you can read a reaction on someone's face, and you have a reaction. Or you have a reaction when reading a book. So there you go.
And it's never been clearer.
Yeah. But then throughout the whole puzzle, there's a bunch of clues that have to do with this. So they're basically book names, book titles with face parts in it. For example, 12 Down, Nicholas Sparks novel featuring a Marine who wins a streak of poker games. And the answer is The Lucky One. So E, Y, and E are circled. So that's I. And then there's 39 Down, Stephen King novel featuring a cat named Church, short for Winston Churchill. Pet Cemetery has E-A-R highlighted. So that's ear. 35 Down, Don DeLillo novel adapted into a 2022 film starring Adam Driver, Greta Gerwig, and Don Cheadle. White noise. Had N-O-S-E highlighted, etc. So basically they had 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, and a mouth in the shape of a, where it would be. And then on top of it, the black parts in the grid formed a happy face. So
yes,
triple whammy.
Triple whammy. He's knocking it out of the park. That's a grand slam, folks.
There's theme everywhere you look in that puzzle.
Oh, I like that you said look, because there was 2 eyes in that puzzle. Very nice. Wow. Yeah. Great puzzle, Evan. Once again. I also liked from that puzzle, 7 Down, Bachelor Parties, ? The answer was alumni. I was like, it took me like 2 seconds. I was like, huh? Bachelor? And then I was like, oh, like bachelor degrees. Very, very good.
Very good.
Very good. I approve. I also liked the Tuesday, October 11th, New Yorker by Amy Lucido. As always, I learned something new. 17 across, mixer that glows under a black light. And the answer was tonic water. Riddle me that. So, do I need to buy a black light for my bar cart?
Maybe. I don't see why not.
I don't see why not. Also, 45 across, quote, that was fun while it lasted, end quote, in internet slang. The answer was RIP, R-I-P.
Amazing.
52 across, PITA, go with. The answer was Baba Ganoush, which is a great word for a crossword because it could trip people up in terms of how to spell it. But also, Baba Ganoush is so delicious, and I just want to put it out there that on my next grocery run, I'm going to get some eggplant. I'm going to make some Baba Ganoush.
Homemade.
It is really easy to make, super delicious, and super nutritious. So that's me eating baba ganoush.
Classic cheese.
Classic. I also liked Two Down, Barrister Amal, who has represented 2 Nobel Peace Prize winners.
Oh,
The
Amal
answer
Clooney.
is Clooney. Yes, so the answer is Clooney, and I just like that it was Amal Clooney and not Georgiathan Clooney.
Mm-hmm.
10 down, this is for you, Grace. Color of many a Barbie core outfit.
Pink.
Hot pink.
Nice.
Yes, and if you're interested in learning about Barbie, listen to episode 56, Blue-Eyed Monster, which is one of our most pitched episodes on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I got from Amy's puzzle. You got anything else?
The last one I want to talk about is the Monday, October 10th New York Times by Byron Walden.
All right, Byron, what do you got?
Let's see. 58 across, chucked forcefully in modern lingo. I was shocked when it was actually yeeted
Oh my God.
in the New York Times.
I love that. Keeping us on our toes.
7 down, do one's part, ? Oh, wait. Oh, no. Sorry, these are from the Tuesday, October 11th, not the Monday. I don't know who did this.
That's
Sorry.
okay. Sorry, it's from the Tuesday puzzle, folks.
I'll look it up later. But anyways, okay, 7 down, do one's part, ? And the answer was act.
Very good.
And then 23 across, what gives a doc inside info? ? And the answer, MRI.
Nice. Nice. Very good. Is that all you had from that?
It was Hold on.
All
Drew
right.
Schmemner.
Very good.
It was
Thanks, Drew.
constructive.
I will end with the Wednesday, October 12th New Yorker by Brooke Husick. 1 across. I also learned a new thing again. Thank you, New Yorker Puzzle. And it's the opener, which is great. Bill seeking to end discrimination against natural styles and textures. And I knew this was a thing that people have been trying to get past like throughout the US for a very long time. I didn't know it had a name.
Mm-hmm.
The name of this bill is called the Crown Act. Crown, like the crown of your head, or like a crown that would sit on your head. And Crown stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. Okay, and so I just kind of wanted to give some fun facts about the Crown Act in case anybody is curious, since I learned about this and some interesting statistics. First, I'll read like a one-liner from Wikipedia. The Crown Act is a California law which prohibits discrimination based on hairstyle and hair texture by extending protection under the FEHA and the California Educational Code. It is the first legislation passed at the state level in the United States to prohibit such discrimination. So then I went to the Crown Act website, and according to their website, legislation to make the Crown Act law has been filed in all but 6 states, and those states are Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, and Ohio. And it is law in 19 states, and the rest have like pending, like it's been filed and it's like currently in the process of review, which I think is interesting. So it's law in 19 states.
Well,
according to this website. If that's wrong, somebody let me know, but I thought that was pretty good. And then this is just a friendship thing, but 23 down, these are blank of my favorite things.
A few.
And yeah, if you are a Sound of Music fan, like both Grace and I, listen to our Sound of Music podcast. It's older, it's a little rougher around the edges, but it is a lot of fun, and you'll learn a lot of stuff. So
everything you ever want to know. It's called Do Re Mi, FYI.
Yes. It's a good one. It's like one of the very first things we ever did.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so yeah, check it out. But until then, I think it is time for us to flip the coin.
Flip it.
All right, who's going to go first this time? I'm flipping the coin.
I wonder.
Now. It's heads.
Oh, my God. All right. Sit back and relax.
Want to create a cartoon classic? Just take some old superhero comics, giant anime robots, science fiction aliens, gross violence, and Hanna-Barbera cartoons, toss them in a blender, and hit puree. The result is sugar, spice, and everything nice, and an accidental fourth ingredient, Chemical X. From 1998 to 2005, that mixture got you Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, the 3 superpowered little girls, that starred in the Cartoon Network monster hit, The Powerpuff Girls.
Did you write that?
I did not write this.
Oh, I was like, wow, that's a nice intro.
Thank you so much. No, that actually comes from an article called The Untold Truth of the Powerpuff Girls on the Looper by Benjamin Falbo.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
And now I will read the clue. It comes from the Wednesday, October 12th New Yorker by Brooke Husick, 17 across. What Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup are, informally. ABC order is the answer, but we're talking about Powerpuff Girls. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup.
Interesting.
ABC order. So yeah, we're talking about the Powerpuff Girls. I wish I had written that intro.
I have to get this off the top. Was Blossom your favorite because she had red hair?
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you who my favorite was. I had two, and I think this says a lot about me. Bubbles and Buttercup. I was obsessed with both of them. Just like I was with the Spice Girls, I was obsessed with Baby Spice and Posh Spice.
Gotta get the two. Well, I bet you can guess which one I was obsessed with.
Buttercup.
Obviously. When there was like a group, anytime they're the one like alternative, whatever, like that person, I like zeroed in on that character. Like every time we played with friends, that was always that one.
Yeah, for sure.
I just remember one time they did like a voting thing to be like, everyone vote for your favorite. And
oh, really?
I feel like Bubbles won, and then Buttercup, and then Blossom lost. But I always wonder, like, did they know that? Because Blossom's supposed to be the leader.
I know.
But I feel like she wasn't anyone's favorite.
It's so funny that you should say this, because I was talking with Matt about Powerpuff Girls, and I was asking him, like, who's your favorite? And he picked Blossom. And I'm like, you fucking would pick Blossom. I'm like, he's like, yeah, she's the leader. Like, obviously, I would pick Blossom. And I'm like, you're such an Aries. It's, like, actually offensive. First of all. And second of all, clearly Bubbles and Buttercup are the most dynamic. You know, Blossom was just, like, the annoying, like, we have to do the right thing. And it's like, you're not dynamic. I need some spice.
There you go.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about Powerpuff Girls. Obviously, you watch Powerpuff Girls.
Yes, but actually, I didn't watch it that much. Like,
same. I think we were a little older.
Yeah, I wasn't as into Cartoon Network. I was definitely a Nickelodeon gal.
I was definitely a Nickelodeon Disney gal, but my brothers were really into Cartoon Network. Like, they were Ed, and Eddie, like, all the time. I have a theory that I can always tell who was Disney Channel, who was Nickelodeon, and who was Cartoon Network. We're definitely Nickelodeon, and your brothers are definitely Cartoon Network. It's true. And like most of the stuff on Cartoon Network like gave me the heebie-jeebies. I'll just tell you that. Like Ed, and Eddie or like Cow and Chicken is just not my vibe.
Courage, the Cowardly Dog.
No. Could you see me watching Courage the Cowardly Dog?
No. I only liked Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Lab.
Oh, yes. It's funny you should say that because the guy who created Powerpuff Girls worked on the first season of Dexter's Lab. Anyway, let's get into it. Shall we get into it?
Yes.
Okay. So the Powerpuff Girls, this is an American like superhero crime fighty like cartoon for young kids, was created by a man named Craig McCracken. Yes, that's his name. It was originally produced by the Hanna-Barbera Barbera company, which later became Cartoon Network Studios. The show has three main characters, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, and each have their own powers, which we'll talk a little bit about in a second. First, we'll talk about Craig. He still is active, an American animator. He's known not only for creating the Powerpuff Girls, but also Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which I did really like. My brothers watched that. Yeah, I feel like because I'm an older sister and I have younger siblings,
you watched stuff.
I was more in touch with cartoons, younger cartoons, than I think a lot of other people my age. Like Matt has not seen a lot of stuff because he was the youngest and he would always watch what his older siblings were watching, for instance. Anyway, yeah. So he more recently created Wander Over Yonder for Disney XD and Kid Cosmic for Netflix. So if you were like young and you liked Foster's Home and Powerpuff Girls and you're now older and maybe you have kids, I don't know, people have kids around our age, and you're looking for something to put on for your kids, maybe try those. So McCracken attended California Institute of the Arts, so Cal Arts, a brilliant big art school. And in his second year, 1992, when I was born, he created a short entitled Whoop-Ass Stew about a trio of childhood superheroes. So, Whoop-Ass Stew was initially only shown at festivals, But when McCracken got a job at Hanna-Barbera in 1993, it was like, maybe this could get made someday. However, that was not the first thing he worked on when he got to Hanna-Barbera. And also, you might think Hanna-Barbera is like, where does that name, like, why does it sound familiar? And if you were, like, younger watching cartoons, like, early 90s into the mid-90s, you probably recognize this name. Also, our parents probably recognize this name. But they are one of the most famous, important animation studios in America, okay? And they're not around anymore, but that's besides the point. They were founded in 1957 by Tom and Jerry creators William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. Their productions included The Flintstones, Yogi Bear, The Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, and The Smurfs. So they did, like, all the heavy hitters.
Everything, yeah.
And I also remember that a lot of the Cartoon Network cartoons that we watched, like, in the 90s, had the Hanna-Barbera, like, tag on them.
It does sound kind of familiar.
They got, like, absolved into Cartoon Network, and eventually, like, it is no more. It is now just Cartoon Network, but they were, like, both in Cartoon Network at the same time, if that makes sense. Anyway, so he was hired by Hanna-Barbera, and he was hired to direct the series Two Stupid Dogs, which I remember vividly. I wasn't really into it because, again, the stuff on Cartoon Network could kind of, like, be a little just off base. Not in a bad way, just not my vibe. While working there, the studio began a new animation incubator project called What a Cartoon, which consisted of 48 new cartoons running approximately 7 minutes each. So McCracken pulled Whoop-Ass Stew out of the vault. Because the network couldn't market a show with the word ass in it, he changed the name to the Powerpuff Girls. The pilot for the Powerpuff Girls was called The Powerpuff Girls in Meet Fuzzy Lumpkins, and it premiered in 1995 on Cartoon Network's world premiere Tune In. Fuzzy Lumpkins, I had forgotten about that, but that's like one of the villains in Powerpuff Girls. It's like a bunny. I don't know if you remember the bunny villain.
I remember the she-devil or whatever, and Mojo Jojo.
Yes, we'll talk about both of those in a minute. Anyway, so McCracken started at Hanna-Barbera with like another guy. I forget the guy's name, but he was the creator of Samurai Jack and Dexter's Lab. And Dexter's Lab was also one of like these incubator films, and it was the first, or not films, like incubator like animation projects, and it was the first one that Cartoon Network was like, yes, we're gonna make that into an actual series. Powerpuff Girls, I keep thinking Spice Girls. Powerpuff Girls was the fourth, like, to be made from these, like, shorts, these animation shorts. Let's see. And it premiered in 1998. The Powerpuff Girls aired on Cartoon Network for 6 seasons, 3 specials, and a feature film, with the final episode airing on March 25th, 2005. A total of 78 episodes were aired. There were 2 shorts, a Christmas special, a film, a 10th anniversary special, and a special episode using CGI technology. And there's a bunch of spin-offs like anime, soundtracks, home video, comic books, video games. There's a reboot in 2016, which was all updated animation. They look totally different. Tons of merchandise. The series has been nominated for 6 Emmys, 9 Annie Awards, and a Kids' Choice Award. It's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the main characters a little bit. So we've got Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. And so, if you remember from the iconic intro, sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girls. But Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction. Chemical X! This is how it goes in the actual thing. Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born. Using their ultra superpowers, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup have dedicated their lives to fighting crime and the forces of evil. So yeah, that's the intro. And their superpowers, all of them collectively have flight, superhuman strength, superhuman speed, superhuman senses, night invulnerability, x-ray vision, red heat vision, energy projection, space survivability, and thermal resistance. So they're pretty badass.
Indestructible. And
then you cannot forget the ending song. Blossom, commander and the leader. Bubbles, she is the joy and the laughter. Buttercup, she is the toughest fighter. Powerpuff, save the day. Yeah.
Fighting crime.
Yes. Fighting crime, trying to save the world. And then, yeah, here they come just in time, the Powerpuff Girls. And it goes on in that vein. So, yeah, each character has their own unique traits. Blossom, the leader. Her personality ingredient. Remember the sugar, spice, everything nice. Her ingredient is everything nice. Her signature color is pink, and she has long red-orange hair with a red bow. She's the most level-headed and composed. She's also strong and determined, and her unique abilities include ice breath, microscopic vision, lightning bolts, and advanced intelligence. Bubbles is the softest and sweetest of the three. Her signature color is blue. Her personality ingredient is sugar, and she has blonde pigtails. She's very cute. She's kind. She's very sweet. But she's also, and I forgot about this, she's also capable of extreme rage and can fight monsters just as well as her sister. And she loves animals. I forgot that she can get sometimes she can get really mad.
I remember. They're such cute little characters. Can't she also talk to squirrels?
She can. She can understand multiple languages, and she can communicate with various animals. And her unique powers are projecting powerful sonic screams and creating a shockwave of thunder from a single clap of her hands. Buttercup is the tough, hothead tomboy. Mm-hmm. Originally, McCracken wanted to name her... The lesbian, yeah. The goth lesbian. McCracken originally wanted to name her Bud, B-U-D. Mm-hmm. But then someone was like, why don't you just name her Buttercup instead? And so he did. But, like, she was supposed to have, like, kind of like a butchy vibe, I think. Anyway, so she's a tough, hot-headed tomboy. Her personality ingredient is obviously spice. She's the spiciest. Her signature color is green, and she has short black hair in a flip. She loves to get dirty. She fights hard. She plays rough. She does not plan ahead, and she's all action. Her unique powers are curling her tongue, which is what? Spinning into a tornado, creating fireballs by rubbing her hands together till smoke comes out, and then it forms like a flame ball, and she can throw it at an opponent. Mm-hmm. So those are her unique talents. And the Powerpuff Girls are also known for their unique visual style and their animation style. The first ever sketch of the trio was made by McCracken for a birthday card for his brother, which is funny. I actually found a picture of this birthday card. It's very cute. Mm-hmm. It had a design of three little girls with big heads with even bigger eyes. And this eventually influenced him when he was making Whoop-Ass Stew. And the size of their eyes is actually inspired by the art of painter Margaret Keane. If you're not familiar with that name, maybe you're familiar with the Tim Burton film that came out years ago at this point called Big Eyes, starring Amy Adams. And what's his name? The guy from Inglourious Bastards. Forget. Peter Valtz. I don't know. Anyway, so Margaret Keane's life story is actually very sad. She's an incredibly talented painter, and her husband took credit for all of her artwork for a very long time, and was incredibly abusive to her. And eventually she was able to sue him in court, and she won. And she was the actual painter of all of these very famous paintings. If you look up Margaret Keane and you see her paintings, you'll be like, I've seen these paintings before. They're incredibly famous. And that's why the Powerpuff Girls have these big, bulbousy eyes. Either way, the giant eyes are their defining visual trait, alongside the fact that the girls do not have fingers. They're just like stubs for hands. Apparently in a testing phase, kids reportedly hated the girls' lack of hands, and they called it like disturbing. I guess Cartoon Network did not listen. Yeah, they got over it. Cartoon Network didn't listen.
So much easier to animate, probably.
Exactly. And I think what's important, however, is like Hanna-Barbera cartoons have a very specific style. Like Powerpuff Girls is very similar to like the Jetsons or Yogi Bear. They prioritize dynamic colors, thick outlines, and simplistic character designs, unlike other popular shows at the time like Rugrats, which had intentionally sketchy designs and thin outlines. Rugrats is definitely not realism by any means, but it's closer to realism than Powerpuff Girls. Now I want to talk about the villains, which are like the most exciting part. I'm only going to talk about Mojo Jojo and one other. Let's start with Mojo Jojo. He is the main antagonist of the show. If you've seen Powerpuff Girls, you know what Mojo Jojo looks like. If you have not, he is a short monkey with green skin and a chemically enhanced cranium, so a big brain inside of like a glass dome. And he's wearing a cape, and he's known for being the villain that like reveals all of his plans in a very like over-explanatory way, and like it reveals what he's going to do to the Powerpuff Girls without meaning to. It's supposed to be very funny. He was inspired actually by old kaiju movies. which I thought was funny. So if you're interested in kaiju movies, episode 75, I Now Pronounce You Monster and Monster. Grace talks about Godzilla and like the history of, monster films in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
There is a specific kaiju show from the 70s in Japan that inspired Mojo Jojo. It was called, Spectre Man. And in the show, Spectre Man, there is an advanced alien world, Planet E. And Dr. Gory was a mutant, mad, evil green monkey scientist looking to conquer planet Earth after being disgusted with its rampant pollution and like wasted resources. And then the titular character, Spectre Man, his job was to stop Dr. Gory, the evil monkey scientist from Planet E, from destroying and conquering Earth. And the likenesses between Dr. Gory and Mojo Jojo are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for you. The actor who gave Mojo Jojo his iconic voice was a guy named Roger L. Jackson, and he voiced many characters in many shows. Celebrity Deathmatch, Codename Kids Next Door, The Legend of Korra. But outside of Mojo Jojo, his most famous voice acting was for none other than Ghostface. Isn't that hilarious?
Oh my gosh. Wait, who is he in Legends of Korra?
I don't know. I didn't look it up, but
cool.
He played Ghostface and Mojo Jojo, which I think are the two most important. So
amazing.
We should look up the Legend of Korra thing.
Now
later,
I need
though.
to watch an episode of Powerpuff Girls to see if I recognize the voice. I mean, obviously Ghostface has like a weird distorted voice, but that's awesome.
If you're interested in learning more about Ghostface or Wes Craven, you can listen to episode 77, Last Monolith on the Left. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, him.
Oh,
and if you're
that's who it is.
If you're not a Powerpuff Girls fan, you might think I'm crazy, but no. The villain I'm talking about is in fact named Him, H-I-M. And he's probably the most infamous villain from the whole show and my absolute favorite villain from the show. Remembering it from childhood, we're going to talk about this in a second, and then also like just diving into him now. There's a lot there that you and I are going to feel connected to, I think. So, like a visual description for you. Him has the claws of a lobster, the hooves of a goat, fishnets over two thick feminine legs, and a noticeably devilish goatee. He also has an eerily high-pitched voice. Essentially, he looks like a sexy devil drag queen. Okay? He's like the sexiest devil drag queen cartoon that you can imagine. That is him. Remember, him's name is Him. According to Craig McCracken, Him was inspired by the blue meanies that appear in the video for the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. And Him was supposed to be the show's edgiest villain, and he was. Okay? Him is still considered one of the scary villains as well. But why is Him so scary? I'm going to flag a few articles that I read about him specifically. The first is The Importance of the Powerpuff Girl Villain Him's Queerness by Shelley J. on Nerdist. And then Hot Take, The Powerpuff Girls Queer Theory by Jamie Rodney on St. Andrew Radio. According to the Nerdist article, quote, Him's villainy is presented through the subversion of expectation. He forces the viewer into a state of questioning. Each of the Powerpuff Girls represents a different kind of femininity, cheerfully and enthusiastically demonstrating that there's no right way to be a girl. But Him radiates a sinister, much more adult brand of femininity, which is interesting. Immediately there's a dichotomy, presenting incredibly feminine, but with an eerily high-pitched masculine voice and a goatee. There's a dichotomy there. And we're basically, if you guys haven't picked it up yet, we're wading into queer coding, okay? And we're also like, if you know anything about the 90s, villains in the 90s, and also way before, were queer coded for many reasons. And Him is one of the villains, one of the most famous villains, especially on Cartoon Network, that was queer coded, okay? I just said that he looks like a sexy drag queen. Of course he's queer coded. So now I'm going to talk about, the Nerdist article also references the writings of Dr. M.W. Byczowski, who is faculty at Case Western Reserve University and a scholar on transgender, feminist, disability, medieval, and critical race studies. And this is everything I'm about to read is from this doctor. What makes him so scary is a refusal to perform the boundaries of masculine or femininity in any kind of discernible way. Instead, he blurs those lines with a sort of menacing glee. He loves being evil, and he loves being both masculine and feminine. This so-called confusion erupts from discord between high-toned male voice, which echoes over itself, as though existing in a state of flux and multiplicity that will not settle into a univocal chord. Likewise, his clothes signify beyond easily legible codes of gender. A mixture of a sexy Mrs. Claus, a dominatrix, and a ballerina. Oh yes, him's legs, like, do that typical Cartoon Network thing that a lot of the women's legs do. They kind of are really hippie, and then they go very pointy at the shoes. Him's legs do that. And a ballerina. If him is the devil, then he traces from the same genealogy of a sugar and spice and everything nice, plus the same secret ingredient that the girls do. He's feminine, okay? And him invokes an idea that gender is not binary, but rather something to be subverted and toyed with. So him was, pretty interesting of a villain, I think, for a child's show. And all of that said, his portrayal is extremely problematic. Clearly, villains being queer-coded is problematic. And it's based entirely on stereotypes, which we can all agree on. And queer-coding villains is like a tale as old as time. But that takes me to the Jamie Rodney article from St. Andrews Radio. And Jamie wrote, quote, "Him is one of the most compelling characters in the history of children's television, striking fear into the Powerpuff Girls, the Rogues Gallery, and even the show's narrator. He's also a combination of more or less every homophobic and transphobic trope you could imagine, from his effeminate and sinister falsetto, his rouged cheeks, and knee-high boots, his leering, predatory manner to, well, the fact that they decided the best way to portraying evil on screen was to make him gay." He continues, "However, LGBTQ plus fans of the show, for the most part, seem to treat him with something like affection. Every queer former fan seems to react to him in the same way. Awareness that how he's portrayed is problematic, but also acceptance that him is, well, major goals." And I would agree. I think it explains a lot. Like, obviously we can look back and note, say like, oh, the way that they portrayed Ursula or him, was problematic. But I fucking love Ursula.
Yeah.
And I love him. And it's like, it's the same way, like, it's like reclaiming something that people made in a derogatory manner, but like, you can kind of reclaim it as your own,
Yeah. It's the same with like Hades, Scar, like all the Disney villains,
But they're also the most interesting characters.
But I think they have been, reclaimed. I was just thinking, like, wow, him would be a really good Halloween costume.
Seriously. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, Powerpuff Girls in general would be a great Halloween costume. I also, just to say, a lot of animators, especially like from the 50s up until the 90s, were queer. And a lot of the ways that they could only put queer messaging into mainstream media was through the villains. So that's interesting too, something to keep in mind. And I'm going to end with a quote from a young adult author named Ryan LaSala, who says, quote, "Him was defined by his forbidden contrast, his hyper-femme design versus the unavoidable fact that his name is a male pronoun. Him is visibly queer, like confrontationally fabulous. Some queer people never have a choice in how the world perceives them, and him showed me a person who was powerful in their queerness, not defeated by it." End quote. In that St. Andrews Radio article, he goes into specific details of moments where him is incredibly confident in his personhood and therefore like queer identity. And so many times the Powerpuff Girls are like literally beating the crap out of him and he never stops smiling. And they're like, "We won." He's like, "You won. I won." He's always so confident in himself, which I think is one of the positive things they did for his character. So I feel like I need to rewatch again as an adult. I know. I think it's on HBO.
Okay. Good to know. We should watch it one day.
We should
put it on the list
one day. I know. And there's so many like different villains as well. I think there's one called like Sedusa as well, like Medusa, but Sedusa. I can't.
Amazing.
There's also Dove Cameron is starring, and like 2 other people I can't remember their names are starring in the live action reboot.
They're gonna make the live action one?
Oh yeah.
Cute.
Dove Cameron's in it, so I'm very excited.
I wonder what the styling will be like.
I know. I hopefully like unapologetically 90s and like
yeah.
And the only one of the villains that they haven't announced whether they're coming back or not is him.
I wonder if they're feeling like,
is it problematic?
Yeah. But they could redo it in a...
What they need to do is basically get a lot of queer people on their writing team.
Yeah. Well, make Blossom gay, and then it'll be like, oh, we don't only have villains being gay. Like,
exactly.
He just happens to be gay. That's not why he's a villain.
Exactly. Anyway, so that's the Powerpuff Girls. And it was a lot of fun doing this research, and now I want to watch it again. So, yeah.
Fun. Well, mine is, well, not really similar-ish, but along the same vein. Okay. I'll just get to it.
Let's do it.
My topic comes from the October 7th New Yorker by Emily Carroll. 29 Across, Means of Visiting a Drive-In Theater. And the answer is car. And my topic is cars. No, just kidding. Drive-in theaters. Drive-in movies.
Cute.
So, have you ever been to a drive-in movie?
No.
I have.
Oh my God.
They were big during COVID, but I even went before COVID. There was one just outside Chicago, or like an hour outside Chicago, called Cascade Drive-In. It was so cute, but it closed down like a couple years ago.
Oh.
Very sad.
I bet you they're like sad that they closed down right before COVID. I mean, obviously nobody wanted COVID to happen, but they probably would have done pretty well.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the resurgence of drive-ins, but let's talk about drive-ins, people.
Let's do it.
To go to the first ever drive-in movie, we have to go to Camden, New Jersey in 1933. Is that close to where you grew up?
Extremely close to me, yes.
Do you know? Okay, well,
okay.
I think the first drive-in was around there, and it was around for a while, but you never went there as a kid or anything?
I never went to a drive. I mean, if my dad was on the phone with us right now, I'm sure he'd be able to tell you about all the antics he got up to, because he worked in Camden, and like my grandfather was born and raised in Camden.
Oh my gosh, we need to have him on the horn. I mean, this is when it first existed, it was like, way early, but I think it lasted for a while, so he may have gone even when
I'll definitely ask him and give an update next Hits and Shits.
Okay. Okay, so Richard Hollingshead.
My dad's name is Richard, I'm sorry.
Richard Hollingshead. His mom would complain that she wasn't comfortable in movie theater seats because she was older and she was bigger and the seats were really small and they were wooden. And she's like, I can't watch a movie. I can't watch a double feature. It's too uncomfortable.
Mm.
Well, Richard wouldn't stand for that because he loved his mother and he loved movies. So
we love him already.
He was a sales manager for his dad's business, Whiz Auto Products, and maybe it was his love of cars that gave him the idea to create an open-air movie theater in his driveway so people could sit in their cars and watch a movie in his driveway.
Cute.
So he put a 1928 Kodak projector on the hood of his car, and he, pulled a sheet between a bunch of trees, pulled it taut, and he had a radio placed behind the sheet that played the movie noise, and he invited his neighbors to come over, test the invention out in his driveway as a way of finding out, how cars could be parked so they could see the screen. He even put his lawn sprinkler on to see, okay, what if it was raining? And apparently
cute.
Drive-in movies aren't very good in the rain, and I have actually been to one in the rain and it was not good because the windows get fogged up and you can't see the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But it took him a few years to come up with a ramp system, the perfect way to how to park a car at each angle so that they could all see the screen. But he finally patented his concept in May 1933, and by the next month he was ready to open the first ever drive-in movie theater to the public in Pennsauken Township, New Jersey.
Oh, Pennsauken is right near me too.
There was space for 400 cars, and he charged 25 cents each and another 25 cents for each occupant, but no one ever paid more than $1.
Wow.
So, pretty good deal.
Yeah.
But there were some hiccups. So the sound came from speakers mounted next to the screen, but anyone who was in the back row, couldn't hear them that well. And not only that, but because they were so far away, because of the distance, the sound lagged behind the movie. Eventually, this problem was solved by piping sound to speakers attached to car windows. So, we know it from Grease when they pull the speaker into the car. Fun fact, he originally called it a park-in theater, not a drive-in theater, which makes sense because you are parking, but drive-in caught on once it became more popular. Richard advertised the park-in as a place where, quote, the whole family is welcome, regardless of how noisy the children are. But
there's something to be said about that, too.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a huge reason why people love to go, and it was cheap. We'll get into that later, but he said this was like a family thing, but the first movie ever shown at his drive-in, was Wife Beware, it's like a French movie. It's the story of a man who is bored by his marriage, so he fakes amnesia in order to pursue affairs with other women. So,
oh my God.
I don't know how family-friendly that is.
Oh my God.
But others saw the potential for profit, and throughout the 1930s, drive-ins were opened across America. By the time World War II began, there were 15 drive-ins in the U.S., but the heyday was really in the 1950s and early 60s with the invention of car speakers that changed the game. So you could like tune into a radio station. At their peak, there were 4,000 drive-ins operating. The smallest one had spots for fewer than 50 cars, while large ones like the all-weather drive in Copague, New York on Long Island could accommodate 2,500 cars, also had a full-service restaurant, a children's playground, and a shuttle to carry patrons around the huge lot.
Oh my God.
Like in your motel episode, drive-in movies grew with the boom of car sales after the war. People were driving more than ever, and drive-ins were like very inexpensive to run, much cheaper than running like an actual indoor movie theater. So the prices were really cheap, 25 cents a person. People would sneak in kids under blankets. So it kind of drew in like young people, families. You don't have to worry about babies crying. You could smoke in your car. Basically do whatever you wanted.
You could do whatever you wanted.
The downside was that indoor movie theaters were more flexible about scheduling, so they could show like 5 to 6 films a day instead of, just at night. So to sell as many tickets as possible, movie studios always sent their first runs to indoor theaters, and drive-ins were left to show B movies. So they never had like, the newest movie out or anything like that.
Sure.
Also in the 1960s were the introduction of concessions, and this was a huge moneymaker for drive-ins. And most drive-ins had commercial breaks during the movie where we see those iconic images of dancing snacks and sodas and hot dogs. They would sing about all the great treats at the concession stand. So sometimes I wish movies today in theaters had like an intermission. Just really quick, that I know that I could go to the bathroom if I needed to.
Right.
But all good things must come to an end.
Indeed.
A huge reason for the decline of drive-ins was the invention of the VCR and cable television. Now families could watch movies on their own televisions without having to hire a babysitter.
I'm sure, like, if the drive-ins have B movies, the B movies are probably the ones that are easier to get on the TV anyway.
Exactly. But drive-ins were also built in rural areas outside of cities, but then cities started to expand and the land became very valuable. So most drive-ins were like independent mom and pop shops. So they would end up selling it to a developer to make housing developments and indoor malls. Yes.
I was going to say, this is all coming together. Oh my God. Oh.
And a lot of malls had movie theaters, had indoor movie theaters. So then that became like the new popular Friday night hang.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Not to mention that drive-ins started to get a reputation for being seedy. So yes, they were already known as like the makeout spot for teens. That's like one places you could have privacy as a teen. Media used to call them passion pits.
Oh my God.
With the foggy car windows. But once their popularity started to wane and they couldn't be showing A-list films, they started showing like racy films to attract new audiences.
Okay.
But fads always come back around.
They do.
Drive-ins can be found all over the country still. There's around 300 in the U.S. The oldest surviving theater is in Shankweller's Drive-In Theater in Pennsylvania, which dates back to 1933, like the first year that we ever had drive-ins. The Alamo Draft House is a Brooklyn theater that does Jaws on the water during summer months, where they put Jaws on like a huge screen and then you can sit in inner tubes in the water. Now, I don't know if this is like what kind of water this is. Better not be the ocean. Like, I'm not sitting in the ocean watching Jaws, but even just like sitting in a pool on an inner tube watching Jaws would be like terrifying.
Yeah. You know me. I'm not getting in an inner tube.
Yeah.
Not in the bay, not in an ocean.
That would
not
be
in a pool.
I would be like on edge the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course there was like a resurgence due to the COVID pandemic. In fact, Christopher Nolan's movie Tenet was released in 2020 and was available only at drive-in theaters across the country.
Amazing.
Isn't that cute?
It's
And
so
like
interesting.
new drive-ins actually opened because most of the old drive-ins were just ones that had been kept open all this time, but
Yep.
new places like there is one in Chicago, and you don't need as much, or you do need a lot of space, but basically they converted like a parking lot at night. It becomes a drive-in movie theater, and they show, they put up a screen, and it's very cool. I've been to it in COVID.
In terms of technology, it must be a lot easier now to do something like on such a big scale. Like I can't imagine how much it would have cost to like have like a projector system, sound system, even just like doing like through the radio or whatever.
Yeah.
That's probably pretty pricey. And now like, I mean, it's like with digital things, like just buy a copy of Jaws and put it up on a screen and you're good to go. I mean, obviously there's probably rights involved, but still, it's probably a lot cheaper now.
Yeah. I mean, when I went to the one in Chicago, it was still through the radio.
Right.
But it was busy. And when I went to the one outside of Chicago years ago, like it was packed. I mean, it was cool. And they had the old school concession stand, like that you would walk into, and they had all these old candies and hot dogs. It was amazing.
Old hot dogs.
Yes, from the 30s. Okay, some fun facts about movie or drive-in movie theaters. So, this website that I read said New Jersey doesn't often get very good press, which is surprising because it turns out to be quite the incubator of new ideas. So not only were drive-ins invented there, so was bubble wrap, TV dinners, saltwater taffy, and canned condensed soup.
Also,
Jersey pride.
That's where we had like the biggest manufacturer of like those like ship and build diners. Also, My Chemical Romance is from New Jersey. So what's his name? Bon Jovi is from New Jersey, and the other guy, Baby, we were born to run. That guy,
Bruce Springsteen.
Anyway, yeah, he's from. We got it all. We got the Jersey Shore. Don't shit on Jersey. Also, I would never move back, but don't talk shit.
Yeah, don't talk shit. Okay. In 2005, a drive-in theater in North Carolina sold on eBay for $22,000. The couple that bought it spent $300,000 to clear out the weeds and modernize the technology. Today, the theater can accommodate 265 cars, and it shows movies on a 60 by 80 foot screen. The owner says, quote, "We've had some folks that come out on a weekly basis. It's almost like a tailgate party." This is a cute story. He says, "Last week we were patrolling the property in the golf cart and we saw a hole in the fence. Some kids had been running through, so we put some chairs up and some popcorn out and left a sign that said, 'At least sit down and watch the movie. We were kids once too.'" Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
I just imagine being a kid like sneaking into the drive-in movie. Amazing.
I love it. Oh, and I want to watch Grease so bad now.
Yeah. And I watched Grease at a drive-in movie. It was like the best day of my life.
Oh my God. Okay.
In 1985, a tornado swept through western Pennsylvania and flattened the Spotlight 88 drive-in. Showing a resilient sense of humor in the aftermath, the owners put up a sign that announced, "Now showing, Gone with the Wind."
They should have put up, they should have shown, Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Texas had gallop-ins where you could watch from your horse.
No.
Probably not as fun for the horse, I have to say.
Also, like, I've never ridden a horse, but you tell me, I don't want to sit on the horse static for 2.5 hours. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe you jump off and there's like tables.
And you stand next to the horse.
Let the horse sit on you for a bit. In 1948, an entrepreneur named Ed Brown Jr. opened a drive-in / fly-in theater in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
You gotta love Jersey. It's fucking bananas.
It had space for 500 cars and 25 small airplanes that could land at the Browns airport next door and taxi to the back row.
Jiminy.
Amazing.
Jiminy. I love it.
That's like you're learning how to fly and you're like, I'm going to fly out to this fly-in theater.
Hey, Jimmy, you want to catch a flick? Let's do it.
And that was open to the late 1960s. And then I'm going to end with another potential reason for the decline of drive-in, which also ties in another topic that we did. I feel like everything's been connected in this topic, but daylight savings time. So it started getting darker later, and you can't start a drive-in movie until it's dark out. So it like became, It was too late.
As if we needed more reasons to get rid of DST.
Yeah. I knew you would hate that.
Oh my god. Wow, we really did tie everything together.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing what you learned when you listen to this podcast. Chelsea did a topic on daylight savings times if you're a new listener.
If you're curious.
I didn't look it up like you were so kind to do. So if you really want to know, DM us and I'll tell you. I'll look through and find you the episode.
Yeah. Wow. DST really does ruin everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're curious to know more, seriously, DM us and we will get you the episode. Wow. I want to go to a drive-in. I've never been. I literally can't believe I've never been to a drive-in. I went to school in Connecticut and there's many drive-ins. There's like 2 near us.
Like real ones, like outside in the middle of nowhere.
In a cornfield. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes, they're so fun.
Ugh. I always wanted to go to the one that you went to in COVID, but we never got around to it because we didn't have a car and it was like, oh, let's like rent a car. But like, I don't know.
It still exists.
But now we have a car, so.
It's still there.
Is that when you saw Grease?
Yeah. Right now, they're in their Halloween era right now, but.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I can wait for Grease.
You have to see Grease at a drive-in. Changes the game. I saw Grease and Jurassic Park there.
Amazing.
That was
amazing.
Alex and I's first real date, like out in the world.
Out in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
Cute. It was Grease or Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park.
I love that. Matt and I's first date was also a movie, but we went to like a small art house cinema and we saw an art house film.
Ugh.
It's called The Boy on the Bike or The Boy with the Bike. I don't know. It's from like 2012, y'all. So it was good, but it's an intense movie to see on a first date. I'll just tell you that right now.
I know. There's some movies that are definitely better than others.
Yeah, I was in my art house cinema pretension era.
Now you're in your Twilight.
Powerpuff Girls. That's it.
Sorry, that's us.
That's me.
So yeah.
Wow, we got a lot to do.
Mm-hmm. So we better get going.
We got to get out of here.
Yeah. So listeners, if you want to talk to us, ask about past episodes, you can find us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at The Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at The Good Eve Girls.
Come on down. We're around. We're here to clown. We may or may not be too busy rewatching Powerpuff Girls, but we could make time to answer DM or two. So, and until that time does come, keep curious.
Keep curious, everyone. It's what keeps you young. To keep curious.
It keeps you young.
That's why we're so young.
It's exactly why we're so young. It also keeps your vocal cords smooth so you can sing nice. Mm-hmm. Grace is like, you're stupid.
At a moment's notice. You can make it
break out into song at any moment.
Any audition, we're there.
Just remember the beginning of this episode. Anyway, until next time. We'll see you around town, kids. We'll see you around.
Not if I see you first.
Oh.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Okay, bye. Bye.